Guys, I wanted to come.
Good afternoon, happy Friday, and welcome to the Fox 5 Live Zone. I'm your host, Guy Lambert. Thank you so much for joining us. Coming up on the show today, if you're counting, it's now day 38 of the government shutdown. Still no end in sight. Singer-songwriter Keith Robinson, along with Christopher Williams, will stop by to tell us about their brand new song. And how about a little basketball action, shall we? In this case, I'm making reference to NBA Hall of Famer Chris Webber. He's going to tell us about his brand new book from the campus of Howard University. All that and more coming up on the show today as we take a live look right now at, well, there we go, the nation's capital. Partly sunny skies. It's going to be somewhat of a cool day for the month of November. We'll top out in the low to mid 60s. Well, it's day 38 of the government shutdown, the longest in American history. The Senate set to convene right now, but it's not clear whether or not they will hold a vote to reopen the government today. And it's causing flight frustrations for travelers all over the country, including right here in the DMV. The FAA canceling flights to relieve air traffic controllers who have been stretched thin during this shutdown. All three major airports in our region are among those impacted. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy had this to say.
Those who travel will see that we've had more delays. We've had more cancellations. We do not want to see disruptions at the FAA or here at DOT. We don't want that. But our number one priority is to make sure when you travel safely.
The FAA says the cuts will help relieve pressure on controllers working without pay during the government shutdown. Meantime, airlines are adjusting schedules and giving travelers more flexibility as we head into the busy holiday season. Joining us now to discuss this and so much more is Mr. Brian Maloney. He is a political strategist and conservative analyst right here on the Live Zone. Mr. Maloney, welcome to the show, sir.
Great to be with you.
Let's jump right into this. Obviously, this is a trying time for so many folks, specifically for those who are hoping to take to the friendly skies, which, let's just be honest, not so friendly right now because of the government shutdown. History has shown that folks really react when it tends to hit them personally. Well, we can tell you that thousands of travelers are now dealing with perhaps delays and or cancellations.
Well, yeah, I mean, it really does affect people, and it changes the mindset out here. But the bottom line is we didn't need to be in day 38 of a federal government shutdown. There have already been 14 votes on reopening the government. And what most Americans are not hearing, what they're not being told, and I ask people, who do you think's at fault for this shutdown? And when I tell them, do you know that Republicans have voted 14 times to reopen the government, the best they've been able to do is get 3 Democratic senators to go along with them, that it's Democrats keeping this government shut down. People just look at me like I'm crazy, but that's the truth. And vote number 15 is in the works for today, and there's this talk of maybe 8 centrist Democratic senators, and I hope there are 8 centrists still left in the Democratic Party. We need more people in the Democratic Party like John Fetterman, who has been calling, out the absurdity of this for a long time and just saying this is pointless, this is needless. But the bottom line is, in terms of air traffic controllers, these guys have been working without a paycheck for 38 days, and that is absolutely criminal. And many of these federal workers, I'm sorry, but they have not been treated well through this, and it's an outrage at this point. Congress should not be getting paid through the course of this. So there's a lot of reasons to be very, very angry. But I have to tell you that, I was stuck at Reagan National last week for about 13 hours. My flight was 13 hours late, and I got to know some people at the gate, I got to tell you. The bottom line is I heard a different excuse every hour from the gate agent as to why my plane was late. And, it wasn't just air traffic controllers, but it was a shortage of crews. It was a shortage of pilots. It was a shortage of mechanics. And the bottom line is, even if we reopen the government, we don't have enough air traffic controllers these days for all the people that are flying. It takes about 3 years to get, someone trained and into, in there working. And so, we don't have enough young people going into the aviation industry right now. We don't have enough mechanics sometimes. So this isn't going to fix things. Everybody's out flying these days, and so there's a lot of other factors here. So to blame it entirely on the government shutdown, I think, is not entirely fair.
Yeah, one thing we know that later today, Brian, President Trump due to meet with the Hungarian Prime Minister. A lot on the table to discuss, but hopefully the president will yet again address now day 38 of the government shutdown, the longest in U.S. history. Speaking of President Trump, he is now touting sweeping cost cuts for obesity drugs. The White House says Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk will lower the price of those injectable weight loss drugs to as little as $350 a month for starters. So the question is, so many folks would say this is a good thing. However, those sitting on the opposite side, in this case I'm making reference to the left, are saying, hey, the president needs to be focusing on other things.
Well, I think that overall, the idea of bringing drug costs down is extremely important across the board. I sense in the way you're talking about this that you have some concerns, and I do too. I don't think we should get to the point where everybody is taking these drugs recreationally instead of being out exercising. I'm no health expert, but I'm a regular person like anybody else. And, I know that it takes more than just an injection, I think, at least in my mind. But I know so many people taking these now. And when you bring the price down to that point, are we going to be a nation of people addicted to these drugs? It's incredible. And it's also incredible that Eli Lilly's stock price has gone through the roof. Even you'd think, the price of this comes down 90%. Wouldn't it hurt the company? Well, investors, Wall Street, they don't seem to think so. They're driving the price higher. So that tells me that they see a huge increase coming in the number of people using this. So I think it's going to be a major issue for years to come.
Yeah, speaking of a major issue, let's talk SNAP benefits, or as some would argue, the lack thereof. A federal judge now ordering the Trump administration to pay full November SNAP benefits as of today. The judge in Rhode Island, in essence, saying during a hearing that people have gone too long without food. The Trump administration had planned to partially fund food stamp programs for some 42 million Americans. Will we continue to see this back and forth, Brian?
Well, I think that we will, unless the government, unless the vote occurs later today to reopen the government. If it's true about these 8 centrist Democrat senators joining with the Republicans to reopen the government, we could have this issue off the table by, 5 o'clock maybe. So that's a hopeful thing here. But, the problem is that we have, 42 billion Americans, that's the number I hear, that rely on this food assistance at this point. And then that's the problem. When you rely on the government for this, it's dangerous because you never know when something like this can occur.
Sure.
But I think also trying to blame Trump for this, and that's how the media has portrayed it. They blamed Trump for the SNAP issue. But the bottom line is the Democrats that have repeatedly voted to keep the government shut, that's why the SNAP benefits didn't go out in November. So, and to have a judge in Rhode Island essentially throwing kind of a legal wrench into this, again, reinforcing the idea that Trump doesn't want people to have their SNAP benefits, which is so far from the truth, it's not even funny. So I'm hoping that this is alleviated right away because the food banks don't have enough to cover all this, and there are some people who are becoming desperate. So let's hope and pray this government shutdown is over by the end of today.
All right, let's move to international affairs. We know that the Senate has voted against legislation that would really require President Trump to get congressional approval for U.S. military action against Venezuela. The bipartisan resolution failed yesterday. This vote, in essence, really follows more than a dozen strikes against the alleged drug trafficking boats that have killed at least 66 people. Where do you stand on this, sir?
Well, the bottom line here is the Maduro regime in Venezuela has got to go. He is a cruel and ruthless dictator and basically drug baron himself, basically cartel leader who also runs the country. He stole the last election by millions of votes. There's complete agreement across the board on that. There's no dispute that Maduro stole the last election in Venezuela. So Trump is taking action where others have been afraid to, because the bottom line is the drugs that are coming through Venezuela are heading straight to the United States. So, but we have a lot of countries in and around that region who really need Trump's support. And some of them are caught in the middle of this. And I want to kind of call attention to that. I think Trump needs to reassure leaders of some of the island nations that are in and around Venezuela. I'll give you an example. Trinidad and Tobago is 7 miles off the coast of Venezuela. And they're kind of caught in the middle of this. Their prime minister supports Trump, but needs reinforcement, needs help because Maduro is threatening war against Trinidad and Tobago for supporting Trump. So that's kind of the situation that we have at hand. So more attention needs to be focused on this, but at the same time, the bottom line is I have to support Trump on this. Maduro's got to go, and we have to stop the movement of drugs through the cartels from Venezuela to the United States, and that's what this is about.
Mr. Maloney, we'll have to leave it right there. Yet again, Brian Maloney, political strategist and conservative analyst, joining us right here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. We truly appreciate your time, sir. All right, let's take another live look at the White House, where any minute now we are expecting the Hungarian Prime Minister to join President Trump. A lot to be discussed here. We can tell you that Viktor Orban is really hoping to use his position to gain a waiver on American sanctions on Russian oil. Hungary is heavily reliant on Russian fossil fuels, and to put it bluntly, 80% of the fuel they use comes from Russia. Yet again, when that meeting gets underway, we will take you there live right here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Well, we now dive into a pressing topic that has significant implications for the political landscape: the noticeable collapse of support for Republicans among Latino voters in the recent election. Joining us now to discuss this and so much more is Latino Wall Street CEO, Mr. Tony Delgado. Mr. Delgado, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
So let's jump into this. We saw a major shift, particularly in the state of Virginia, with regard to Latinos, in essence, not necessarily voting the Republican ticket, rather.
Yes, so I mean, we saw, whether you want to call them Democrat victories or Republican failures in New York, New Jersey, and Virginia. And, traditionally these are blue territories, but regardless, there is a lot less excitement under this election cycle than there was under President Trump. I'm here at Mar-a-Lago at the CPAC Summit. I just spoke on stage here at CPAC Mar-a-Lago. And what I was telling my partners here at CPAC was that, the Republican Party needs to have an identity outside of President Donald Trump. President Donald Trump is an anomaly, right? He's brought in both Democrats and Republicans to the table. You have people like Tulsi Gabbard, who was here last night, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., right? These are traditional Democrats who crossed over party lines to join this MAGA coalition. But, the Republican Party did not win last year. It was Donald Trump and the MAGA movement that won. And if the Republican Party does not want to have the Democrats partying in that ballroom in 2028, they need to get their act together and find an identity outside of just being the party of Donald Trump.
Yeah, it's interesting you're touching on that. My next question, quite honestly, happened to be, is this a one-offer? Meaning, will we continue to see this with Latinos actually stating, you know what, I'm not necessarily going to vote in that manner?
Well, you know what it is? Latinos are over 90% Christian. we're conservative by nature, right? But if the party is not exciting us, just like any other demographic, we're not going to get out and vote. Latinos make up about 10% of the voting bloc, so we can swing elections, right? If you win the Latino vote, you will win. But again, if we're not talking about the economy, affordability, right, safety, these were a lot of the things that Mandami was touching on. And we were left on the other side of the aisle with Cuomo, who was a corrupt Democrat who got embraced by some of the Republican establishment, and Curtis, who was a fringe candidate. Right. And so there wasn't a really strong opposition, at least in New York City, where I'm from. There wasn't a really strong opposition to the socialist radical left on the other side of the aisle.
And so with that being said, with regard to what took place in the city of New York, will this fuel Republicans to really show up in droves come the 2026 midterms?
So here's another point that I want to make. In the last election cycle, election integrity on the national scale, on the presidential scale, was a key factor in the strategy. Laura Trump actually went around the country to all the swing states like Arizona, like Pennsylvania, where there was suspected voter fraud, and put a lot of measures in place, both legally and then even just grassroots, having poll watchers to ensure election integrity. They gave up on states like New York and California because the Republicans have basically thrown their hands in the air and said, New York City is always going to be blue, California is just always going to be blue, and we've given up hope. Well, I remember Rudy Giuliani running New York City and having a golden era in New York City when he cleaned up the streets. I remember Arnold Schwarzenegger when he was the Republican governor of California. And these are New York and California, seriously, I don't think we should give up hope.
We'll have to leave it there. Yet again, Mr. Tony Delgado, Latino Wall Street CEO, joining us right here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. We truly appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me on.
Well, as economic headwinds dominate today's news cycles, passivity is the greatest risk an investor can take. Joining me to discuss this and so much more is Mr. John Grace. He is the founder of Investors Advantage Corp. He's also a highly sought-after expert with a national reputation for translating complex economic shifts into plain English. And with that, we welcome Mr. Grace to the show. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Good to be with you, Guy.
So, John, for many years, we were taught, and I'm thinking about this aloud, but we were taught to really buy now and hold. However, the playbook is really breaking down in a different era, the market shocks of global uncertainty, is it not?
Oh, absolutely. And part of this, Guy, we've been here before. I want to make sure we touch on what we see just around the corner, and that's November 19th. So I want to make sure we cover that. But let's just look at what happened. There were not one, but two 50% losses in the same decade, 00 and again 08. And most of the financial services community just said you have to live with those losses. The truth is there's a better way to go. The question is, how do you limit the losses? I mean, whether you're rooting for the Dodgers or rooting for the Commanders, you have to have a defense strategy. Yes, when it comes to investing, most of us are 100% passive. Our accounts stay 5% cash, 95% invested. That's great on the upside, not so pretty on the downside. So savvy investors who hate losses more than they love gains want to do is limit those losses. So the first step is to figure out what kind of loss can you live with. Is it 10? Is it 70? Make it a specific target and then see what your portfolio did to you in 2008, 2022, first quarter 2025. A friend of mine, an attorney earlier this year, called me and says, I'm surprised you answered your phone. I go, why? He says, my account's off 30%. Your clients must be pulling out their hair. And I go, well, we just got off the phone with an engineer and she was worried that her account was off 20%. It was off 5. So don't let the Titanic, don't leave your assets on the Titanic just to be kicked in the assets again and again and again.
Absolutely love how you put that. Speaking of the Titanic, that happens to be one of the big boys. Let's talk about the big boys and girls on Wall Street, the big investors. What are they saying? What are they doing right now?
Well, what do they say about the politicians? Listen to what they say, but watch what they do. Have you noticed that NVIDIA's CEO has just unloaded $1 billion of NVIDIA shares? Now, tech has been the darling, kind of like the .com, but could it be that we're about to unveil a situation that would look like the .com era on steroids? Over 20 billionaires, including Pelosi, Buffett, and Huang at NVIDIA have unloaded their tech shares. And we see, for example, with Bitcoin. I was on Yahoo Finance just last week in New York, and I said, I think it may have peaked. We may see crypto peak and start the fall, NVIDIA follow it, and here come stocks and real estate right behind it in unprecedented terms. And let's recognize that many of these investments, they take the stairs up, but they take the elevator down.
Sure.
So a lot of investors are unloading on Bitcoin. And what you are seeing right now is when companies buy back their shares, that's a good sign, right? But what happens when they're redeeming those shares? Is that a good sign? So that calls into question to see how November 19th unfolds, because that's when NVIDIA is going to have some explaining to do with their earnings, and I don't think it's going to be pretty. I'm suggesting that now is no better time to line up your ducks, to have a defensive strategy to limit your losses before we see this thing blow up right before our very eyes.
John, I got about a minute left, and I want to pose this question, and that is real life stories. That's what we try to do here on this show. We keep it real, for a lack of better words. In this case of clients who perhaps really built security through timely action and not being passive.
Well, yes, our 1-2 punch, Guy, is active management and greater diversification. So a real example, client sold two businesses, $5 million, 4% withdrawals, $200,000. For most of us, that's a magnificent retirement strategy. That would work for me. But let's suppose these folks woke up in Belgium, where they like to travel, and they discover, it happened again. Our $5 million just got cut by 50% to $2.5 million. Now we have to take our withdrawal and move it up from 4% to 8% to maintain our standard of living. This is why it's so crucial in advance. You can't get insurance on a home that's already in fire, engulfed by fire. So you can't do it after the fact. You have to do it before the fact. And that's why in 2022, when the market was off 20 to 30, if investors, thanks to active management and greater diversification, were off 7 to 10%, you might recover from a loss like that. Once you get down to the 50s and the 70s, and it doesn't seem there's no end in sight, it may be hard to recover. And let's recognize real quick, Guy, after the Great Depression, stocks dropped 89%, taking 25 years to get back to even, assuming you did not need any money. You kept all those shares that just kicked you in the assets.
Yeah, yet again, absolutely love how you put that. Mr. John Grace, Investor Advantage Corps, joining us right here on the Live Zone. We truly appreciate your time, my friend.
My pleasure, my friend.
All right, let's take you back to the White House, where any minute now we are expecting President Trump to hold talks with the Prime Minister of Hungary. Now, Viktor Orban has been described as the closest ally in the European Union to both Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. I should also make mention that Mr. Orban is hoping to use his position to gain a waiver on American sanctions on Russian oil. When that meeting occurs, we'll take you there live right here on the LZ. We'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone with the news of President Trump's landmark deal with Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly slashing costs to as low as $50 a month. For many, the question looms, what does this mean for real people? Joining us to discuss this and so much more is Ms. Braha Banyan. She is a board-certified family nurse practitioner and founder and CEO of Hello Dose. Ms. Banyan, always good to see you. Welcome back to the show. So I got to ask you, for folks that are still trying to wrap their heads around all of this, in layman's terms, what the heck does all this mean?
Great question. So patients who struggle with obesity are now able to get these medications covered through insurance. Up to this point, if you had diabetes, you were able to get it, but obesity, you were not. So someone could have obesity but not be diabetic, although it takes time to develop diabetes. So, certain people really should have been qualified, but they weren't. So now, if you have obesity, you're going to be qualified once this comes into play.
And so critics, those that are saying, hey, this is not a good thing, the flip side of this coin, why would someone say just that?
Honestly, it seems like such a great thing to me because it's going to prevent diseases as well. Maybe people believe that this drug should be not for everyone.
Ms. Banyan, I'm going to have to ask you to hold your thoughts for just 1 second as we take you yet again back to the White House, where President Trump now shaking hands with the Hungarian Prime Minister, Mr. Viktor Orban. Let's take a listen in.
Budapest at some point. Should Hungary be allowed to purchase Russian oil? Great leader.
All right, and there you have it. President Trump yet again greeting Mr. Viktor Orban. He is the Prime Minister of Hungary. The president really not speaking a lot, just stating that he happens to be a great leader, he being Mr. Orban. It will be a very interesting meeting. The two are expected to sit down and discuss perhaps Hungary gaining a waiver on American sanctions on Russian oil. We were told that perhaps it will not be televised. If that discussion is, we will bring it to you live yet again right here on the Live Zone. And with that, we'll take you back to Ms. Braha Banyan. We were discussing all things that the president had to say about, well, obesity yesterday. We were chit-chatting before we broke to the White House about the importance of really getting this message across. And I posed the question to you, critics of this, what's one's argument against the president doing what he did yesterday?
Be more controlled. There's different opinions about how medications should be priced. Should they be accessible to all or should they not be? And how controlled should they be? So there's different perspectives on it.
Can you share, let's say, some success stories? We're storytelling folks around here, and so it's always good to get a story that perhaps one can relate to.
Sure. I think these drugs are revolutionary. So not only are they going to help people with obesity, they're going to prevent many disease processes. We have many patients who have gone on these medications that are now going off of other medications because of it. For example, they had diabetes, they had hypertension, and they just struggled with obesity, and they were able to now go off their hypertension meds and their diabetics meds because they were able to lose weight. I have a lot of patients who couldn't even provide before photos because they hate taking photos of themselves because they don't feel comfortable in their own skin. And after going off these weight loss medications, they finally feel comfortable with their own body. It's not just helping people lose weight, but it's essentially giving someone a new life. And now we're going to have more people be able to do that. It's going to be more accessible. To me, it's revolutionary, and it's a beautiful thing that's happening.
Yeah, and yet again, it's truly monumental, and it unfolded right before our very own eyes. We have been speaking with Braha Banyan. She is a certified family nurse practitioner and founder and CEO of Hello Dose. It's always good to see you. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, folks, we'll take a quick break. This is the Fox 5 Live Zone. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. It's the big story of the day. Day 38 of the government shutdown, the longest in American history. The Senate convening right now, but it's not clear as to whether or not they will hold a vote to reopen the government today. And it's causing flight frustrations for travelers all over the country, including right here in the DMV. The FAA canceling flights to, well, really believe air traffic controllers who have been stretched thin during this shutdown. All three major airports in our region are among those impacted. Earlier today, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy had this to say.
We have been impacted by the shutdown, by the decisions that we've made today to start the decrease in capacity we now see building in the system. There's a very easy solution. Let's open the government up. Let's pay our controllers and reduce the pressure. That's not happening. The Senate actually is going home this weekend. As many people here can't get home, the Senate goes home. They should be here every day, every weekend, every week trying to find a deal so we can open the government back up.
Mr. Secretary.
Can you clarify if it's 10% across all flights across America or 10% impact on the 40 airports that you have?
It's the 40 airports. Okay. So we're doing 10% on the 40 airports. That's where we saw the most pressure.
So how many flights per day is that? Because it's not 4,500, right? It's going to be less than that.
So it's going to be 4% today in regard to those 40 airports. And again, we're going to step ladder that up to get to 10% next week. The exact number I can't give you. And I can get the controllers to come back to work. I asked the head of the Air Traffic Controller Union to reach out to his controllers, to ask them to show up.
All right, yet again, that was Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy speaking on all things with regard to what's occurring with the FAA. I want you to take a close look at your screen because what you're looking at now is what's known as the misery map. Now, this is really interesting. This, in live time, is tracking all of the delays and or cancellations that we are seeing throughout the country. Let's use the first ORD, actually, out of Chicago as an example. Right now, we see that there happens to be 39 delays. Cancellation-wise, I believe a little over 20 or so. Immediately beneath that happens to be the city of Atlanta, where we now know there have been 23 delays and at least 17 cancellations. To put this in perspective, folks, our next guest was due to join us about 4 minutes ago. Guess what? His flight happened to be delayed. And so it is something that's happening to real folks in real time and something we will continue to monitor throughout the remainder of the afternoon. All right, folks, welcome back to the Fox 5 Live Zone. We continue our special coverage on the impacts of the ongoing government shutdown. As uncertainty continues to loom over many sectors, the job market and overall economy find themselves at a critical juncture. From changes in federal hiring practices to the ripple effect on the local economy, we will now explore how individuals and businesses can navigate this challenging landscape. Joining us to do just that is, hey, our good friend is here, Senior Economic Analyst Mark Hamrick, joining us right here on the Live Zone. Mark, good to see you, sir.
Good
Welcome to the show.
Good to see you, Guy. Thanks for having me. Great to see you.
I got to tell you, it's great for you and I to see each other, but a lot of folks right now, they're experiencing hardship, if you will. I'm curious, can you bring us up to speed with regard to the overall job market as it stands?
Of course, and we're here in the DMV, which is the epicenter for the federal government shutdown.
Sure.
But these impacts radiate not only across the U.S., but around the world. We are the most powerful economy in the world. And so coming into the shutdown, it could be said that the U.S. economy was at a bit of a tipping point in the sense of the job market has gone from red hot to pretty cool, not frozen, but cool. And most of us are reliant on our incomes and our jobs for our well-being. We're not trust fund children generally. I'm certainly not. So that's the broader economy. But here around the Washington area, with so many people reliant on, let's say, normal operation of the federal government, we have essentially the haves and the have-nots, meaning either you have to go to work or you are not, from sort of mission critical points of view. And so we have essentially collectively all federal employees, those who aren't elected officials, are not being paid during this 38-day shutdown as we speak. But yet so many are being required to go to work. And so this only adds to further pressures in terms of an economic slowdown. It adds to uncertainty and it adds to anxiety. Just this morning we had release of the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment sentiment survey, which is something people in my line of work look at very closely. Consumer sentiment or consumer confidence has been further undermined by the shutdown. And by the way, people who identify with both political parties feel that way.
Yeah, it's so amazing how all of this continues to unfold right before our very eyes. You made mention of a study recently released. However, one could actually argue that because of the government shutdown, there is a lack of data. And so with that being said, how can one assess where we currently stand?
Yeah, very good question, Guy. And so we have essentially a divide between the data we get from the private sector and essentially businesses or enterprises or organizations, and then the lack of federal statistical data. The one exception that we had last month was the Consumer Price Index on inflation, and the only reason why that exception was made was so that we could know that Social Security recipients get an increase of 2.8% next year. So that's the one exception. But there is, I would say, a lot of data that we do get from the private sector, so we're not totally in the dark, but I liken this a little bit to driving in the dark, and we're looking at the dashboard that is sort of telling us what the GPS tells us, but we can't actually see it with our own eyes. And so, you know, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell has said the federal data is essentially the gold standard. So right now we're dealing with sort of silver, bronze, or something else that isn't giving us the proper view of the economy we typically would want. And why is that important? Because whether we're consumers, whether we're a manager, whether we're even a central banker, we need to have access to this data to know essentially where we are and where we might be going. And so I just mentioned consumer confidence being further hurt by this. We want to know, is the job market holding up? Is it sort of collapsing a little bit? And we don't have the best quality data to make those judgments and assessments.
Hence my next question. Mark, I don't see a crystal ball sitting in your lab, but I will pose the question, and that is, where do we go from here? What will happen once the government reopens?
First of all, there'll be a lot of time required to sort of catch up with our assessment or understanding of where the economy is. And there will be some data, such as, we should mention, today we would typically have the monthly employment report, which is very important on the job market. We're not going to have that. The data was not collected. And so even when we get the government back open, whenever that is, we're going to have a gap in the data. But in terms of where the economy is headed, let's think about the things that are persistent. We have a wealth and income divide in this country, and it's only grown more significant. Are you among the fortunate who owns a home, who has exposure or investment in the stock market, or are you everybody else who doesn't own a home, would love to own a home, but housing affordability is the worst perhaps on record right now with high interest rates and home prices? That divide, I think, is set to grow even more significant with the way the tax cut was structured, really where the rubber hits the road in 2026. And among the things which are potentially persistent, even though there's a looming Supreme Court decision, is tariffs. And we know the two main impacts of tariffs are to accelerate upward pressure on inflation and to slow economic growth. We're reliant on a healthy economy for all of us to do our thing with our personal finances.
He does it oh so well and puts it in layman's terms. I'm referring to none other than senior economic analyst, Mr. Mark Hambrick, joining us right here on the Live Zone. Sir, I truly appreciate you.
Great to be here.
I learned a lot during this segment.
You're very kind.
All right, folks. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. Actually, we're not going to take a quick break. In this case, we're going to take you live to the White House, where President Trump now sitting down with the Hungarian Prime Minister, Mr. Viktor Orban. Let's take a live look in.
Under Sleepy Joe Biden. So that's a big difference. That's a big difference. 25% less Thanksgiving. And I think that's a very good chart. They include everything that you need for Thanksgiving. So it's 25% less this year than it was last year. And that's true. That's emblematic of the rest of prices. Energy prices are way down from what they were last year. Inflation is almost non-existent. We have inflation down to a very low number. Whereas Biden, as you know, is the worst inflation in the history of our country. So we're doing very well. We have a shutdown, as you probably know, because the Democrats have gone, they're crazy. They're crazy. But they don't care if they hurt the country. But we've approved it 14 times. We've approved a opening up 14 times, and they keep rejecting it. And I guess maybe they will again. Let's see what happens. They want to have a lot of bad things happen, bad things for our country. We're not going to give $1.5 trillion to people that came into our country illegally. We're not going to do it. To people came from prisons, they came from mental institutions, they're drug dealers. They want to give them medical care. $1.5 trillion. And we're not going to do other things that they're requesting also. So I just want to welcome this really good person. I know him very well. He's a good person, and he's a great leader, and he's loved in his country. And Victor, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you very much, President.
Thank you.
First of all, may I say that thank you very much for the invitation. It's good to see you, President, back to the White House. And good to be back after 6 years, anyway, again, to see you here.
Yeah.
As we have met last time. The reason why we are here to open a new chapter between the bilateral relation of the United States and Hungary, basically because during the Democrat administration, everything was ruined. So after your leaving president, everything was basically blocked, ruined, cancelled, a lot of harm done by the previous administration. In the last 10 months, President, what you have done, we are very much grateful for that. You restored the old level of the relationship. You improved the bilateral relation. You repair what was done badly by the previous administration. So now we are in quite a good position to open up a new chapter, let's say a golden age between United States and Hungary. And we have plenty of suggestions for today: economic cooperation, military cooperation, and political cooperation. And the main issue, probably, President, you know, we are neighboring Ukraine,
Sure.
which is in war. It's the most important issue for us, and we would like to discuss with you how we can contribute to help you in your peace efforts. That's why we are
you've
here
taken a lot of Ukrainians that needed your help, and you've taken a lot of them in your country, and everybody appreciates that.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we do our best.
Thank you very much. Any questions?
Mr. President, are you planning to
Go ahead.
give Hungary a carve-out on Russian oil, sir?
Mr. Orban has requested an exemption as it relates to oil that is coming from Russia. Is that something that you are prepared to do? And may I ask Mr. Orban a question in regards to that very issue?
Sure. We're looking at it because it's very difficult for him to get the oil and gas from other areas. As you know, they don't have the advantage of having sea. It's a great country. It's a big country, but they don't have sea. They don't have the ports. And so they have a difficult problem. There's another country that has that same problem, by the way. But when you look at what's happened with Europe, many of those countries, they don't have those problems, and they buy a lot of oil and gas from Russia. And as they know, I'm very disturbed by that because we're helping them, and they're going and buying oil and gas from Russia. So that question could be really asked maybe more accurately if you talked about many European countries, not Hungary necessarily, because Hungary is in a different position. But many European countries are buying oil and gas from Russia, and they have been for years. And I say, what's that all about, right? Thank you. Yeah.
So that will be one of the issues for today, to explain clearly what would be the consequences for the Hungarian people and for the Hungarian economy not to get oil and gas from Russia, because we are supplied by pipelines. Pipeline is not an ideological or political issue. It's a physical reality because we don't have port, exactly as the President explained to you. So we will negotiate on that point. It's vital for us anyway.
Mr. Orban, there are two pipelines, as I understand it. There's a pipeline from Ukraine and there's a pipeline from Croatia. And my understanding is that the pipeline from Croatia can provide all of Hungary's energy needs. As a result, why would you need an exemption if that's the case?
Okay. So when we discuss that issue, you should separate the gas and the oil. On the gas issue, which is very important for us, 90% of the Hungarian households based on heating system based on gas. So we have only one pipeline delivering gas to Hungary, which is the main pipeline, the Turkish one. What we got from Croatia is a very small volume supplementary gas pipeline. Okay, that's gas. Oil is another issue. So oil is coming from the Druzhba pipeline, which is the main supply, and that is a Croatian one, which is the secondary and supplementary pipeline. We would like to convince the Croatian government to enlarge it and make it possible to deliver more. Under these circumstances, it cannot be the main pipeline. It's just supplementary. But later on, with some big investments, it could serve better the interest of Hungary.
Mr. President?
Yes, please, go ahead.
President, thank you. Many people see this mission not just as an encounter between two countries, but as the symbol of the strengthening of a new conservative world alliance. Would you agree with that interpretation? And how do you see the future of Europe in the light of leaders like Viktor Orban stand up to Brussels bureaucracy and the globalist agenda?
Are you from Hungary?
Yes, I am.
I figured. The fact is that he's a great leader, and he's respected all over, not necessarily liked by some of the leaders, but, you know, those leaders have proven to be wrong. If you look at his stance on immigration and other things, you know, if you look at Europe, they've made tremendous mistakes on immigration. It's really hurting them very badly. He has not made a mistake on immigration. So he's respected by everybody. He's liked by some. And I can tell you, I like and respect. I'm a double. I like and respect him. And that's the way Hungary is being led. They're being led properly. And that's why he's going to be very successful in his upcoming election.
Mr. President, you said you were planning.
May I have a comment
Please.
on that? You know, language is important because the Anglo-Saxon terminology is different from the European one. So to use categories can create some misunderstanding. So I would like to be clear as much as we can. We are the only government in Europe which considers itself as a modern Christian government. All the other governments in Europe are basically liberal leftist governments. So we try to do something from 2010 which is different from what the others are doing, even at the philosophical level and at the level of practice as well, as just the President described it, like migration. So we are kind of a special island of difference in a liberal ocean in Europe. And we consider ourselves as a modern Christian government. That's the proper category to describe what we are doing.
To both of you.
You said you were.
To both of you.
Would that happen in Budapest?
We're talking, but we'll report on that later. Meetings with Putin. We were talking about that with Victor. He understands Putin and knows him very well. And I feel that, I mean, I'm going to let you say what you think, but I think that Victor feels we're going to get that war ended in the not too distant future. Victor, do you want to talk about that?
I'm strongly convinced. So the question is whether we Westerners are unified or not. The problem is that the president has huge peace efforts, which are just splendid and very positive for the European continent and all the peoples of Europe. But at the same time, we are not unified because Brussels and the Europeans has a different approach to the war. So the only pro-peace government is the United States government and the small Hungary in Europe anyway. All the other governments prefer to continue the war because many of them think that Ukraine can win on the front line, which is a misunderstanding of the situation. So it's a complicated issue. We will discuss it. It requests not just 2 minutes to respond to your question, but rather than our lecture. Sorry, not to continue more than that.
To both of you. To both of you.
So you would say that Ukraine cannot win that war?
You know, miracle can happen.
Yeah, that's right.
Mr. President, you can be a peace summit.
Thank you, Mr. President. What is your message to the EU? Because from Hungary and the EU want to impose their war policies on Hungary. What is your message?
Well, I think they should respect Hungary and respect this leader very, very strongly because he's been right on immigration. Look what's happened to Europe with the immigration. They have people flooding Europe all over the place, and it's hurting it. It's the crime rates are way up. A lot of bad things are happening. His crime rates are very low. They're the same as they always were, which is very little crime because he's kept it the way it should be. Europe, I mean, I don't want to go into individual countries. They're all friends of mine, everyone. As you know, in NATO, they voted to go from 2% to 5%, and, you know, that nobody thought that was possible. And we had just about almost, other than Spain, a unanimous vote. No, I think that I think they respect him a lot. They don't agree with him, but actually, inwardly, I think they probably do agree. He was right on immigration. They were wrong. They are flooding Europe with people from all over the world, and Europe is becoming a different place. And I tell the leaders all the time, you better stop or you're not going to have Europe anymore. It's a very dangerous thing they're doing.
May I have a reflection on that? So on migration issue, just for clarification, in Hungary, the number of illegal migration is like that, zero, because we have a crystal clear system. If somebody would like to come to Hungary, first he should ask for that. If he gives the permission, they can step in. Nobody can step on the territory of Hungary without having a permission from the Hungarian authorities. This is the regulation, simple, well working. What is the consequence of that? We are under sanctions, financial sanctions of European Union, because we don't let the illegal migrations to come to Hungary and to the European Union as well. So we have to pay, just to inform you, we have to pay every day 1 million euro as a punishment to the Brazilian budget, because we stopped the migrants. This is the absurd world we are living now in Europe.
Mr. President,
to both of you. Go ahead, please.
Bill,
yes,
thank
go
you
ahead.
so much. Thank you. I'd like to ask what do you think, what do you believe after this meeting? Can you have maybe, or the European Union will have another opinion about, just because of this penalty, another opinion about Hungary because of the immigration and because of this kind of politics, which is not that strictly as the European Union directs. What do you believe?
Yeah, where are you from?
I'm from Hungary.
Okay. I do have that conversation with them, and I respect and like them. They're all friends of mine. I think pretty much every single leader in Europe is a friend of mine. We get along really well. They've done everything I've asked them to do with NATO, et cetera. The only thing they continue to do is buy oil from Russia. That's not too good. But I told them they should respect this man. They can also learn from Victor. Victor has had a very hard stance on, more than anything else, immigration or even illegal immigration. He literally has accepted no one over the years. Think of how much greater these countries would be if they didn't have the tremendous crime that has come in with the immigration. People just flowing into Europe. They've got to stop it. And not only stop it, they have to reverse it. They have to get them out. We've done that here. We have 0 people coming in now. The borders are closed. We take people, but we take them legally. But we've done it very strongly, and we're moving hundreds of thousands, millions of people out. We had, of the 20 million people, 25 million, nobody knows even what the number is. They never knew. Biden had no idea. He had no idea. I don't believe he had any idea what was happening, because he wasn't about open borders. But we had open borders, and we had millions of people come in, and they were coming in from jails. They were coming in from mental institutions. They were coming in as drug dealers. We had 11,888 murderers. Half of them committed more than one murder. We're getting them all out. We're getting them out. He doesn't have that problem, but Europe does have that problem. Other parts of Europe have that problem. So, I tell them all the time, I stick up for Viktor Orban. Not a lot of people do, because in many cases they're jealous. They wish they did what he did. They would have no problems if they did what he did. And I have a bigger heart than anybody, but they've destroyed some of those countries. Some of those countries had no crime 10 years ago, and now they have quite a bit of crime. And I would say that I don't know anything about your crime levels, but I would imagine they're very low.
Down.
Huh?
down.
Not too high, right?
No, it's very down.
Mr. President, since you brought up, Mr.
Sure,
President.
please. No. Just a clarification as well. I'm not here to ask how President Trump to manage my conflicts or our conflicts with the European Union. This is our matter, so we will do it. What we need is a golden age, to open a golden age of the United States-Hungary relationship. That's the biggest help we can get from the United States.
And maybe Europe too. We can include Europe, but it's going to get more difficult.
So inside the European Union, we will manage all of our affairs. To be the most possible humble guy, yeah? But I'm the longest-serving Prime Minister of Europe. I survived all the Prime Ministers who attacked us. And I'm sure we will survive next years as well. So we will manage our conflicts successfully.
Mr. President, since you brought up, Mr. President.
Question for the Prime Minister. Speaking of Europe, last month you said that you would not withdraw U.S. troops from Europe, yet a few weeks later, the Pentagon decided to withdraw significant number of troops from Romania. So have you changed your mind, or the Pentagon ignored your assurance?
No, they don't ignore anything that I say. What they do is we make changes. We move. It's the same number, total number, but we move people around. I happen to like the Romanian people. I think they're great people. And Pete, you may want to suggest something right there, please.
Absolutely. No, nothing was uncoordinated with the White House. It's all part of the view that we have of Europe, and there will remain troops in Romania, but there's some change in how we rotate and how many we rotate.
And the relationship with Romania is very good, right?
It's very good, and we've coordinated all this with Secretary General Ruta, with throughout EUCOM, throughout our allies. Everyone was notified in advance.
The relationship with Romania is very good. The relationship with Europe is very good. I disagree with what Europe is doing having to do with immigration, but I agree with them on many other subjects. We just signed the biggest trade deal ever made with Europe, $950 billion. We were able to do it because of tariffs. It was a deal that was good, very good, but we had a very unfair deal. We were treated very badly before I came into office, but we just signed. It's the single biggest trade deal ever signed. So we have a very good relationship with Europe. Yeah.
Mr. President,
what is the main dispute with the Russians which prevent the Budapest summit with Putin from taking place?
The basic dispute is they just don't want to stop yet. And I think they will. I think it's taken a big toll on Russia, a big toll on both countries, obviously, but it's taken a big toll. They're losing 7,000 soldiers a week. That's a big toll. And between the two of them, divided, you know, with Russia losing more soldiers, actually. But they're both losing a lot of people. And that's the primary thing that, with me, it's not economic, it's not money. In fact, we don't spend any money. We send it to NATO. They pay us for our missiles and for our military and everything else. We don't. It's not a question of money. It was with Biden. He spent $350 billion. He got nothing for it. The war would have never happened. If I were president, the war would have never happened. I think you would agree with that. This war would never have happened if I were president. It's stupid that it happened. But it did happen. I inherited the war, and I think we're going to get it ended. Not too distant future.
Mr. President,
yes, please.
So no question that if that time the name of the United States president would have been Donald Trump, there would be no war between Ukraine and Russia. That's clear. But what we are speaking about here is more than that, because without the pressure coming from the United States government, I'm speaking 2022, the Europeans would not take that hard line what they have today on the war. Remember that big countries of Europe rejected to be involved more than just sending some, humanitarian issues. So the pressure coming from the United States to be more pro-war in Europe. So that's the fact of the history anyway. So we have to restore something which was ruined and created from here, and that's the reason why I understand absolutely the devotion of the president now to do everything to stop the war, because that would be not that deep without the previous government pressure from here. So the reason why I'm here to be as much as helpful I can to contribute to the peace efforts of the president, because that was an enormous mistake what we have done, the Western world several years ago, and we have to stop it, and it's common responsibility.
Biden actually pushed for that war to happen. Okay, if you can believe it. Nobody can believe it, but it's one of those things. And now look what happened. Look what's happened to Ukraine. It's a much smaller country. A lot of people are dead. You take a look at it's a whole different world over there, and Russia has not been helped very much by that war either. They lost a tremendous number of soldiers and people. Look, that war should have been a one-week war. I don't know why it's taken. This is 4 years. Should have been 1 week. Should have been over with, but it would have never started. Should have never started. And I would have solved the problem without giving up anything. Ukraine would have remained as is. So there were tremendous mistakes long before I got there. I inherited that mess, and we're getting it solved, along with the 8 wars that we've already ended.
Mr. President, you brought up...
Mr. President.
What is America's interest cultivating better relations with the EU leader or not?
I think I can do both. I mean, there's no reason why I can't. I get along well with the European nations.
We are still a member of the European Union, so it's easy.
Yeah, and by the way, he's a member in good standing, I guess, although they penalize him every once in a while. But he's a member in good standing with the European Union, so he's a member. He's a part of it. But I get along great with him. I get along very well with them. I agree with him on immigration much more than I agree with them. But I agree with, a lot of the things in Europe he also agrees with. But he had a difference, I would say, primarily on immigration more than anything else. And I happen to think he was right because their whole fabric has changed. I mean, you go to some of the countries, they're unrecognizable now because of what they've done. And Hungary is very recognizable. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. President. Will there be a peaceful meeting in Budapest still this year? What do you think?
You mean a meeting with President Putin?
Yes.
You mean in Hungary? Well, I'd like to keep it in Hungary, in Budapest. That meeting, it turned out I didn't want to do that meeting because I didn't think anything was going to be happening of significance. But if we have it, I'd like to do it in Budapest. Yeah, it'd be good.
Mr. President, you said many times to support Viktor Orban. Why is it important to win the next election, for example, for the United States, Hungary, and also Europe? Why is it important?
Well, I don't know his opponent. I don't know if he has an opponent yet. At some point he will, I guess. We always have opponents,
always.
Right? Not much of an opponent. But I'll be supportive of him. He's done a fantastic job. We've had a great relationship. The United States, look, we had a country that had no leader. It had an auto pen, illegal auto pen, totally illegal. And that's coming out stronger and stronger. But we had no leader in the United States. I mean, Hungary, as an example, had no relationship with the United States, even though we do, billions of dollars in trade with Hungary. Yeah. Hungary's a big country economically. We do, billions of dollars in trade with Hungary. Why would they give that up? And they gave up so much else. Look, they gave up everything. This country was poorly run. I think if I didn't win the election, we might not have a country, if you want to know the truth, not a recognizable country. But our relationship was immediately good as soon as I won the election because Victor's one of the people that's highly respected, and we had a great relationship with Hungary. We do again. That was an easy one.
Mr.
Yeah.
Do you and Prime Minister Orban agree on ways to put pressure on President Putin to come to the negotiating table to end the war in Ukraine?
I think we agree that the war is going to end. Sometimes people have to fight it out a little bit longer, but I think we agree that the war is going to end in the not-too-distant future. You want to talk about that, Victor?
I have some ideas, and I will present it to the President. How to stop it.
Mr. President, since you brought up the Walmart Thanksgiving meal, and it is cheaper, but it also contains less, as affordability continues to be an issue, well, that's what Walmart says.
Who you with?
I'm with NBC News, sir.
Fake
representing
news.
the poor.
NBC.
But, sir, as affordability continues to be a problem for Americans,
NBC's gone down the tubes along with most of the rest of them.
If I may ask, why do you think there's such a disconnect between the economy that you're describing day to day and the way many Americans say they are feeling and their concerns about
Well, they feel
affordability?
better about our country right now, other than the shutdown, obviously, which is caused by the Democrats, could be ended by the Democrats in 2 minutes. They feel much better. We have more jobs. We just set a record on jobs. You do know that. We have more investment in our country than any country in history. We're over $18 trillion as of this moment, and we're going to be maybe at 20 or 21 trillion by the time I finish up my first year. And there's been no country, China, no country in the world that's done anywhere even close to that number. Your friend Biden, as an example, in 4 years was less than $1 trillion. We'll be at 21 trillion in 1 year. So there's no country that was even close to that, and our country was a laughing stock all over the world. We have more jobs, we have more potential than any other country, and frankly, we're the hottest country right now. Victor said to me before, we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. Think of it. We'll have $21 trillion invested. We have auto plants pouring back in. We have AI pouring back in. We're leading China in AI by a lot. We're leading everybody in every category. There's no category that we're in second place. So I just heard this yesterday that Walmart said that the Thanksgiving was 25% more expensive under Biden. To me, that's a big number, because Walmart's respected. I mean, Walmart is Walmart, and, they're giving you prices. So that would mean that the whole series of pricing and costs, the groceries and everything else, it was a con job. It was a con job. Affordability, they call it, was a con job by the Democrats. The Democrats are good at a few things: cheating on elections and conning people with facts that aren't true. It was 25%. Walmart just announced it 2 days ago. 25% cheaper this year, will be cheaper to have Thanksgiving than it was a year ago under Sleepy Joe Biden.
And how long will it take SNAP recipients?
Say it.
You said affordability was a con job, and you said last night you didn't want to talk about affordability.
I talked about it. When did I not want to talk about it? I talk about it all the time. We are much better than Biden and all of them. Now, just so you understand, do you remember that the Biden administration had the highest inflation in 48 years, but most people say ever recorded? Do you remember that? Right? Do you remember it?
So, yeah.
Did they have the highest inflation in 48 years? Did they? Just answer me the question. You know the answer. The answer is yes. They had the worst inflation in 48 years. We have almost no inflation. We're down now to 2%, and we'll be at maybe 1%. You want to always stay above 1%, actually. You want a little tiny bit of inflation. We're at a perfect number. They were at the highest level in recorded history, okay? And when you talk about affordability, that one fact. Now, let's talk about the second biggest subject after inflation, energy. We're going to be at $2 gasoline. We're going to be approximately $2 very soon. We're a little bit above $2 right now for gasoline. Now, under Biden, it was $4.50. It even hit $5, but it was $4, $3.50. We're going to be at $2 a gallon. So gasoline's much less. Energy costs are less. When you have energy and when you have gasoline less, everything else follows. It's such a big category. So when you have lower energy prices, which I think you admit we do substantially, that means everything else. So we are the victors on affordability. But if I watched that election, which I was not much involved in, I didn't support Virginia, the candidate, didn't do a lot of support for the other candidates. They asked me about Cuomo, and I said, well, it's a question, do you want a thug or do you want a communist? I mean, that was my response. So I wasn't involved in that stuff too much. But I will say this. If you look at affordability, which they campaigned on, they lied because they talked about, oh, prices are up. No. Prices are down under the Trump administration, and they're down substantially. Energy prices are down by 30, 35, 40%. Gasoline is way down. And the other big thing is inflation is way down. The biggest thing is inflation. The second biggest thing is energy. Energy is way down, and what's also down? Gasoline. Also, the biggest thing is inflation, and it's way down. We took over a mess, the highest inflation in recorded history. Some people would say 48 years. I'll take either one of them. But I believe it's the highest inflation in recorded history. That alone makes it impossible for them to have done a good job affordability-wise. So one other thing. When I came into office, Victor, 2 days into office, they were screaming at me about the cost of eggs. I was there for 2 days. Eggs had quadrupled. And I said, listen, I just got here. Let me check it out. And they were right. Eggs had gone up by 3-4 times. Within a period of a few months, we had eggs down to a normal cost. We did a great job on groceries and affordability. The only problem is the fake news. You people don't want to report it. And, in fact, I'd like to ask Caroline. Where's Caroline? I'd like to ask Caroline a question. Where is she? Did she? Uh-oh. She deserted us. She deserted me. Our great Caroline superstar deserted me. Anyway.
How long, sir?
She's right outside.
Mr. President.
How long is
she was going to talk about, because the fake news yesterday, they talked about that. They said, oh, I don't want to talk about affordability. The reason I don't want to talk about affordability is because everybody knows that it's far less expensive under Trump than it was under Sleepy Joe Biden. And the prices are way down. Caroline?
Yes, sir.
Could you discuss that question that was asked and how it was asked in such a fake, disgusting manner by the fake news?
Yeah, and I just saw it asked again here, and it's very unfortunate that the reporters in this room refused to address, sir, what you just said, which is that you inherited the worst inflation crisis in modern American history, and you are fixing it in 10 short months. And your entire administration has been tasked with this effort, from Treasury Department to Agriculture Department to the National Economic Council right here at the White House. They are slashing regulation. He signed the largest middle-class tax cut in 6 months. In 6 months, in record time, putting more money back into the American people's pockets. So affordability is what the American people elected this president to do, and he is doing it, and you guys refuse to cover it, and you refuse to cover that the previous administration created the worst unaffordability crisis in American history. And I've been watching the TV all day saying that he doesn't want to talk about affordability. That's what he's working on every day, and that's what this administration is doing.
That's what I'm talking about right now. But you know why they refuse to cover it?
Can I
Because they're fake news, that's why. Go ahead.
Can I get her someone?
Sure. Caroline, the Prime Minister would like you to work for him in Hungary.
Please consider.
You know what? It's a very good decision you just made.
President,
Please don't leave us,
on the
Caroline.
shutdown, Mr. President,
Yeah, please.
you spoke to Republican senators. They do not seem interested right now in getting rid of the filibuster.
It's too bad. They're making a big mistake. That's right. No,
Well,
but they're-
what's the
they're coming
off-ramp here is
way.
my question to you.
You're right. Wait a minute. The way to do it for the Republicans is to terminate the filibuster. They call it the nuclear option. This is the second form of nuclear. Very good, very good. This is a good form. This is not a bad form. I would have been in favor of that a long time ago. But you know the Democrats are going to do that. And most of you will admit the Democrats are going to do that. So why aren't we doing it? And I think only a foolish person would be against that, especially when you realize that these are crazed people. These people are absolutely crazed, Trump derangement syndrome, whatever it may be. And I am totally in favor of terminating the filibuster. And we would be back to work within 10 minutes after that vote took place. And lots of other good things would happen. And it doesn't make any sense that a Republican would not want to do that.
If they're not going to do that, then it seems like you'd have to make a deal with Democrats to end the shutdown. Are you
Here's
open
some
to
of the
that?
things that we'd pass if we terminated the filibuster. Voter ID, no mail-in voting, no cash bail, no men and women's sports, no welfare for illegals. You could go on and on. This is 2 pages of things we'd do if you did that. Without it, I don't know that you pass anything because you can't deal with them. They're really irrational. They really are. But I was happy to see that a tremendous liability to this country, a woman that made herself rich in this country, Nancy Pelosi, has quit. And she'll be out of here pretty soon. And that I consider that to be a great asset for America, getting her out. Yeah, please.
Are you ruling out a deal with Democrats? You're not interested in a deal?
I don't know. We'll see what they have.
On
we'll
Snap,
see.
sir?
But they're very destructive for the country. NBC, fake news. I'm not taking you. Go ahead.
Sir, what?
Are you worried about it backfiring in the future on Republicans? Should they get rid of the filibuster and then down the road Democrats?
Well, normally I would say, well, a little bit. But the reason that I'm not is because if they ever took over power, they'll do it. Look, Joe Manchin and Sinema are 2 people that are no longer in politics because of this issue. They were opposed to what the Democrats wanted to do. They wanted to terminate the filibuster. They were opposed to it. They're no longer in politics. They're gone. The Democrats will do this. So if the Democrats are going to do it, I'm saying Republicans should do it before they get a chance. It's very simple. And if we do it, we will never lose the midterms and we will never lose the general election because we will have produced so many different things for our people, for the country, that it would be impossible to lose an election.
Are you worried about an AI bubble?
No, I love AI. I think it's going to be very helpful. So many things are happening with it. And in addition to which, we're leading China, we're leading the world in AI. We're building massive electric plants that the companies themselves are building for their plant. I've given them the right because we need so much electricity for that. And just the word is electricity, believe it or not. Double the electricity that we currently have in the country for just the AI plants. And I've allowed those companies to rebuild and build electric plants along with their facility. We're getting approvals done in less than a month, sometimes in 2 weeks for massive, beautiful, massive buildings. And no, I'm totally in favor of it. I think it's it's really going to be the wave of the future, and we're leading the world. We're leading everybody by a lot.
How long do you think the shutdown will last? Mr. President, how long do you think the shutdown will last?
I don't know. It's up to the Democrats. We voted, the Republicans have voted 14 times to open up the country, and the Democrats have voted 14 times to hurt the country, really. They should approve it, but they might not. That's why I like the fact that we terminate the filibuster. If we terminate the filibuster, the country will be open within 10 minutes after that termination, because we'll take a second vote, which is the opening of the country, and the Republicans will vote to open the country. That's one of the reasons, not the major reason, by the way. I think it's less important than the other things that we get. But if we terminate the filibuster, the second vote that we will take will be to open up the country. It'll take 10 minutes, and the country will be open.
Is there any room for bipartisanship? Because it seems like that's the main purpose of the filibuster, is to create some sort of compromise. So
Well, it didn't work, obviously.
So how
You're
do you
right.
encourage
That was the purpose
bipartisanship?
of the filibuster, bipartisanship, but that didn't work.
So are you saying the next 3 years in Washington there shouldn't be?
Well, no,
some level of-
if the filibuster is terminated, we will have the most productive 3 years in the history of our country. If the filibuster is not terminated, then we will be in a slog with the Democrats, and very little for either party will be done. So it's a good thing. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Press. Let's go.
Here we go. Yet again, President Trump addressing a number of questions. The president now set to meet with the Hungarian Prime Minister, Mr. Viktor Orban. The two have been somewhat close allies for quite some time. We can also tell you that Mr. Orban is also an ally of Russian President Vladimir Putin. Orban is hoping to use his position with Mr. Trump to gain a waiver on American sanctions on Russian oil. We should state that Hungary is heavily reliant on Russian fossil fuels, and to put it bluntly, some 80% of the fuel they use comes from Russia. The president stating that, well, when it comes to the prime minister, I like him and I respect him. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone on a Feel Good Friday. Why? Ladies, he has arrived. The man with the master plan, the man himself. Yes, he needs no introduction. You get a chance to check him out on Beyond the Gates. But he's live right here in studio. We're talking about Mr. Keith Robinson. Good to see you, my man.
Good to see you, man.
Man, you know, I got to tell you, I did a lot of research on the way in. Your story is really made for a movie. It's funny because one of the things that you said, for folks that don't know, all things music outside of acting, it started for you with a talent show. And the young lady in the front row said, "Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So what's hooked you?
Yeah, I mean, for the acting thing, it kind of started in an acting class where it was kind of like I was in the front row and just at the class seeing what it was all about.
Yeah.
And that ended up being my manager, and that kind of started my acting career. But I kind of was already in music before I got to the acting thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you do it all so well, man. I mean, it's just, you know, we had an opportunity to do Celebrity Dish earlier, and I posed this question to another guest, and that happens to be, there are so many folks that focus on one thing, and perhaps it doesn't work out initially, and then they turn to another, and they're so successful. That's the case with you, but then you went back and doubled back, and yet again, success continues.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it wasn't really doubling back. I think I've always put out records, I've always recorded. It's just, I think people will just kind of doubled back as far as recognizing that, because, you know, TV and film is such a huge stage, and once they see you in that light, then everything else becomes secondary. But I've kind of always lived in both spaces throughout my career. But I'm excited that people are really discovering the music now more than ever.
Let's talk about the young folk. My producer over here, Gen Zer. we're not going to touch on that, but what I will touch on is so many folks aren't ready. You stayed ready.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of take a blue-collar approach to entertainment. I mean, I'm doing my reps, and my discipline. The piece for me is in the discipline. I think that's where the security comes from, just really knowing your craft. So when the opportunity does come, you're already kind of in the flow of everything. I think that's key, because you don't know when it's going to happen, and you don't want to make the mistake of giving yourself a deadline. If it doesn't happen by this time, because a lot of people die to that deadline. So it's just basically just falling in love with the process and getting good at knocking, so when the door opens, you're ready.
How does it feel to be a part of history, and what do I mean by that? Beyond the gates.
Beyond the gates. It feels great, man. It's a blessing. I think I'm really excited about the response that the public has to it.
Sure.
It's the first African-American soap opera ever. It's the first soap opera that's been added to a major network in 30-something years, they're telling me. And it's just well done, and I love going to work with that cast and crew. It's like a family, and I'm just excited to rep the DMV.
Yeah.
And just rep, you know, just black culture as a whole on a daytime soap is amazing.
How you got that role is really interesting as well, because initially there was another gentleman that had it.
There was another guy who was playing the role, and I think they said in soap operas that's kind of fairly common, where they kind of get the flow of the show and see what works and what doesn't. They decided they wanted to go another direction, and thank God that direction was
Is that intimidating, though, to know that you're following someone? I mean, obviously, they chose you because you do it all so well, but would you look back at, with regard to what that actor was doing, and say, you know what, I'm going to take that or not take that?
So what I did was I made it a point to not watch the previous person, because it did, for whatever reason, it didn't work. And then I think I was excited because I think people had known me from a lot of other TV and film projects, because it was always a warm response. But ironically, with the soap opera genre, they're a different type of fan. So it was a learning curve, and it was a little rough going making the transition, because they had gotten used to the previous character. So that was the previous person who played the character. So that was an adjustment for me that I'd never faced in my career. So by the time I got in, I'm like, oh, this is a little bumpy. It's not going to be the smoothest transition as I thought.
Yeah.
But now they're locked in.
Yeah, in a major way.
With this tape.
Not only locked in watching you, but get a chance to hear you as well.
Yeah.
That first time you heard your song on the radio, your response.
I mean, that's great. I mean, that's, for me as a musician, that's kind of like Christmas for me, to hear your song on the radio. It's happened several times at this point in my career, but I mean, seeing myself on TV and in a film was great, but no matter how far I get into my career, I love to hear a personal thought or emotion and a melody over the radio. That's kind of like my giddy moment.
Yeah. From the creative aspect, what does it take to go into the lab, put it all together, and then yet again it becomes your baby?
Yeah, I think the lab is the last piece of the creative process for me. I mean, a lot of, like right now, as I'm living my life and hearing stories, feeling things, experiencing things, the songs are kind of subconsciously being written. And then I'll hear a melody, and then when I go in the studio, I kind of converge all those thoughts, and out comes the record. So that's almost like you prep, and then you get in the booth and you spit it out, basically.
Yeah. Gosh, man. Yet again, story made for a movie. We'll end with this, and that is, it's all about inspiration on this show. And I'm thinking about the times where you maybe didn't get that call back from, let's say, a casting director. The times you didn't hear your song on the radio, but you persevered, my man. You still made it happen. Can you speak to that for someone that's dealing with something right now, and I just can't get over that hump?
That is the norm. I mean, I hear, for every yes, there's 1,000 no's. You don't see the no's because there's nothing to talk about, but you experience a lot of rejection in the industry and in life, and I think you have to use the no's as fuel to build you to the yes, because you learn, you adjust, you build up perseverance, you build up that, what I call the entertainment scab, where a no doesn't affect you and take you down. It kind of builds you up.
and you just have to. That comes with repetition. And like I say, I tell the young artists, it's like you continue to knock on the door, but while you're knocking, get really good at knocking. So when the door does open, you're ready for the opportunity, because all it takes is one yes, and that yes will come.
Yeah. Beyond knocking, he done kicked down the door right here on the live zone. Ladies and gentlemen, yet again, he needs no introduction, and he definitely needs an outro. We're talking about the one, the only, Mr. Keith Robinson. You can check him out on Beyond the Gates. And, of course, that smash song, Forever Bay. That's right. You can download that as well and take a listen to. I appreciate you, my man.
Thanks for having me, man.
Respect. All right, folks. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. So if you haven't heard, let me be the first to tell you. They are playing basketball on the campus of Howard University. In this case, I'm making reference to the Howard University women's basketball team. Excuse me, the Bison coming off a solid performance with a 68-56 win over Providence earlier this week. Now they're ready to do their thing on the campus of Howard University with their home opener tomorrow. Joining us to discuss this and so much more, the head coach. Yeah, we're talking about Coach Ty Grace right here on the Live Zone. Coach, good to see you and welcome to the show.
Good to see you too, Guy. How are you?
I am doing great, and I'm sure you're doing just as fine. And why am I saying that? Because you all got a team over there. I am so excited about what we are going to see unfold this season. So talk about the mere fact that you started off with the W. Now you get a chance to, strut your stuff at home, and you get a chance to be supported by so many fans and friends that love to see what you all do live, up close and in person.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Tuesday was great. We had a great win against the Big East team. Just the team was locked in, played really well. Defensively, just got after it and came up with that win. So I was very proud of them. And now we get to open up with our first game on Saturday against FAMU, 2 p.m. at Bird Gym. It's the Mecca Rodeo. I need everybody to come put their boots on the ground, get their fans going, and come cheer on these young ladies who've been working really hard. I'm just excited to see this team kind of get into their own, and just looking forward to the future, what we're going to look like later down the line.
Yeah, Coach, it's no secret. This is your 10th, count them, 10th season at the helm. Can you talk about how you have, in essence, what you've learned throughout this decade that you've really been leading the Howard University women's basketball team to greatness?
I'm very blessed. I've just taken it year by year. day by day, game by game. I've been surrounded by some really talented players, great staff. My administration is outstanding. So just been really blessed. And I just, I take a year, every year is different. This year is going to be just as exciting. So, I look forward to each season, and I'm just very thankful that I've been able to have this kind of longevity at Howard.
All right, so there's a lot of pressure, but that's always the case when you happen to be a coach. But in this case, you all are preseason favorites to win the MEAC conference. I mean, that's a big deal.
It is. It is. That's the expectation, though. Like we don't back away from that. We know that people look at us and they view us in a certain way, and we're expected to do well. We expect to win, and that's what our young ladies are looking forward to. So being number one, I'm thankful and humble at the same time. But that's what you came here for. That's what I do. What I do. So I'm just looking forward to see how we're gonna pan out. And number one is where we want to see ourselves at the end of the season.
Yeah, I guess when it comes to the other team, what's that phrase? They're not like us. I guess that's the case.
Never.
So, Coach, I'm hoping you could tell us about the team this year. Who should we keep a close eye on?
Honestly, I love my team. Every last one of them, they're like my daughters. But I have two returners that were picked preseason first team on MEAC, Now Miller and Z Thomas. Two great players. We have a great freshman out of Chicago, Ariella Hennigan. She's going to be outstanding. Zoe Stewart. I can name them all. They're all great. They all bring something different to the table. They all contribute. So I'm just looking forward to see them shine in their own right.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see what you all do tomorrow. Once again, the game's set to get underway at 2 p.m. By the way, you got a great forecast for tomorrow. I believe, partly sunny skies, highs near 70. With that being said, there's a pre-game event known as, well, you touched on it, the Mecca's Rodeo Block Party. Oh, do tell. What's to be expected?
Everything. Just come out and have a good time. You're going to have food trucks. They're going to have games. Hopefully the team will be able to come through and you'll get to see them. I might make an appearance, but it's just going to be a good time. Fellowship, just hanging out, getting ready to cheer on the ladies. So if you have an opportunity, please come out to the block party and spend some time and hang out, play some games, and just have a good time. And then come in at 2 o'clock and come cheer us on.
Yeah, and cheer on in a major way. You have amassed more than 150 victories during your tenure, yet again with the Howard University women's basketball team. How do you stay motivated, Coach, and what do you say in order to motivate the players?
It's just the love for the game. I love the game of basketball, and I love to impact young women. So that keeps me motivated every day, to be able to come in here and motivate young ladies to just do things beyond basketball, just to be great people, to thrive in whatever they want to do professionally. It just motivates me every day, and the love of the game. Like, who doesn't love basketball? Who doesn't love the game? So that's my motivation.
Yeah, we'll end with this, and you just touched on it briefly, and that is to motivate folks within the classroom as well. That's one thing that Howard has done so well with, not only, let's say, excelling in sports, but in academics.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's the first thing they come here for. I want to ensure that they get their degrees and that they're graduating, and that that's a priority for me, and that's a priority for the young ladies that decide to commit to Howard. But obviously, basketball is the next thing on the plate, and I make sure that they're achieving in that as well. But they're going to become great people once they leave here. Once that ball stops bouncing, they're going to be doctors, lawyers, engineers, coaches, whatever it is that they set their eyes on. Howard definitely gets them prepared because, we're number one, Black excellence.
Well, one thing's for sure, under your leadership, they will definitely be winners with regard to whatever they choose to do. We have been speaking with Coach Ty Grace, head coach of the Howard University women's basketball team. I'm predicting you're going to get that W tomorrow in a major way.
Absolutely, no doubt.
Coach Grace, good to see you. We appreciate you hopping on the show.
Appreciate you too. Thank you.
All right, folks, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. 5 Live Zone. Every time I see that video, man, it just gives me chills. The one, the only, this man needs no introduction. We're talking about the R&B icon, Christopher Williams, in the Live Zone in person. What's up, my man?
What's up, guy? Always
good to see you, brother.
Man. Always good to see you.
You know, it's not funny, but it's such an honor to have you sitting right here.
Thank you.
I'm thinking about your entire career, what you've done and what you continue to do, and we're going to talk about your new song in just a minute. Do you still get goosebumps or feel vibes when you see yourself doing that?
Every time. Every time. I'm nervous right now.
Oh, get out of here, man.
I'm nervous right now.
You have stood the test of time, and what do I mean by that? When I think of R&B artists, some come and then some go, but you continue to stand strong. What does it mean to you to know that everybody's still checking on Christopher Williams?
Well, it just means that everybody, you know, I can't be me without them. So, you know, the people that support my music, that's the most important thing. I think is the connection. I think sound is a frequency that heals. That's what this music is about for me always, just that it makes people feel good.
Yeah.
It's going to be something different to everybody. The same song means something different to every person, but if it makes them feel good, and that's why I keep doing it.
Yeah.
3 years ago, I got sick for the first time in my life, and I just fell back in love with music.
Wow.
Hooked back up with my boy Vincent Herbert, and we were like, let's go get it. So here we are.
Yeah, and you're getting it in a major way. The brand new song entitled Good Enough. So here's the hardest part about my job. So I'll interview folks, and I got to say, man, I like the song, and I really don't like it. Brother, I like the song, and that's for real.
Thank you.
I'm telling you, guys, if you haven't already heard it, make sure you download it, not now, but right now. It is good, my man. How did it all come together?
Like I said, I hooked up with Troy Taylor. Big shout out to the GOAT in Atlanta. Went down there and just started creating, and man, magic just started happening. I played it for Vincent. He was like, we're locked and loaded. We talked to Troy. Troy Taylor was honored to do this project with us, and here we are, one piece, we're done.
Yeah.
So we super excited, man, because there's 3 interesting minds. Troy Taylor beats me up. I let him because I'm kind of like in a place like when I was 19 again.
Wow.
You know what I mean? It's like I'm letting these younger geniuses craft and help mold the new Christopher Williams. I'm still the same, but I'm always interested in evolving and learning from the younger generation because I think innovation needs wisdom, wisdom needs innovation.
Sure.
So I'm just excited, man. Like you said, when you think about 36 years since I've had my first record deal and that people still remember anything about me.
Yeah.
This little dude from the Bronx. So super humble, super grateful every day, and just ready to go kick some
And you're doing that in a major way. I'm telling you, right after we finish this interview, pull up the song. Yet again, it's entitled Good Enough. You made mention of 36 years, and I'm going to date myself because for me, it was I'm Dreaming. And first girlfriend, I remember the song. So what does it mean for someone like me to look at you and say, when I hear that song, I think back to my first girlfriend, my first kiss, my first holding hand, and the soundtrack was you.
Yeah, that's crazy. Humbling, man, like Guy, for real. I was in a play a few weeks ago with Pooch Hall, and this is somebody I admire, a little brother. And like he comes to me afterwards, the play is over, and I was like, man, it was so good to finally, work out with you on stage and stuff like that. And he says, man, I got to tell you something. And he goes back to the same thing in Boston, and it really just touches me, and it lets me know that, when you plant good seed, it doesn't always harvest right away.
Yeah.
It's like seed time and harvest, and I think it's this harvest season for us. And I often hear people say, God will give you a second chance. He gives you many chances if you really think about it. So super duper duper, like I said, man, I couldn't walk 3 years ago, and I think in about 2 weeks I'll be flying. I'm ready to fly. I'm ready to jump off the cliff again. So we're excited, man. We just did the hip hop honors for the Hip Hop Museum. I'm from the Bronx, so there's so many things manifesting, and so many things that just are lining up. When I got out the hospital, it was almost like everything just started falling right in line. And I'm gonna tell you something that's funny. For you to be saying you remember dreaming, what are you drinking? You look like you're 25 years old talking about he remembered dreaming.
Well, I was going to say my age, but I'm going to keep that on. We'll talk about that when we get off here. Yet again, man, it's just such an honor, and I'm happy you're here in more ways than one. You made mention of being sick at one point, and we don't have to really dive into that, but what I do want to get across is that perhaps there was a time where you thought, this isn't going to work out in more ways than one. And there's someone else that's going through that. And you are now a testament to getting through that storm, to being the light at the end of the tunnel. What does that mean, Christopher?
It means that you grow up and you really realize that you got to mature. And sometimes position in life, alignment is everything, and timing. Sometimes you're just meant to be a fan and remember what initially brought me to music, and I had to get back to that place again. And I started looking at me and not looking left or looking right. Often we always say, the YNs will say, I'm chasing the bag, I'm chasing the bag. I let the bag chase me. I started looking to me and trying to be the best representation of Christopher Williams that I could be. Not work, because you could pay attention to Dr. Dre's billion or this one's 800 million, but creation could have a zillion for you. You could be the first trillionaire if you pay attention to you. But our eyes are so fixated on everything, and I just started doing that and appreciating my life and appreciating Chris, my legacy with my children, my G babies, just recently. So again, I had to become this Renaissance man, not just one thing. Got a vegan restaurant opening up in Brooklyn, Vegan Solicious.
Nice.
Started developing land in Missouri with Tranquility Homes, my partner Roman. Got a skincare line, Dream Skin, Dream Shave, with my partner Charlotte Wilson, new record with Vincent Herbert. And all these people I'm mentioning, not to just throw names, but these are like innovative, genius people who are sewing back into me 36 years later. So I'm super duper humble, appreciated, and it just makes me want to sharpen my knife. I'm getting ready to go into boot camp to get these muscles back because, they tried to deplete me when I woke up in the hospital 130 pounds, man. Crippled, couldn't walk for 8 months. But I'm a fighter, man. I've learned to fight the good way, the good fight, and not this fight, but the good fight. And nothing wrong with this fight if you do it in the ring. But I'm just, man, I don't know. I just feel like John Bones Jones.
Yeah.
I feel like I can overcome. I feel like I can meet the task, and I feel like that it's for something. We have a lot of great things coming about that are not even just about Christopher Williams. Artists coming behind me. Vincent has 3 great artists. I have an artist, Shakira, out of Baltimore. Just a lot of stuff, and more importantly, I gotta shout shamelessly the Book of Akbar. Kareem Akbar is getting out of federal prison. So in 26, me and Vincent are shooting a television show called The Book of Akbar that's gonna highlight a lot of young people. We're hoping to get Dave East, A Boogie with the hoodie, NBA Youngboy playing offsets of Nino and G Money and Kareem's kids.
Wow.
So this is going to be a trilogy to New Jack City. Of course, we're super duper amped about that because we get to make the soundtrack again.
Well, by the way, if you need a news anchor in it, holla at your boy.
I will.
Yet again, he is the man. Yes, the brand new song, Good Enough. Download it, not now, but right now. You will truly, truly be impressed. Christopher Williams, the one and only. Respect,
Guy
brother.
Lambert, respect back, man. Much love, Guy.
Thank you, man. All right, folks. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Joined now with Saida Abbas, who is actually doing big things around here. You were working overtime today, Saida.
I love it. Yes, I am working overtime for Chris Smith. He needs a day off. That man works really hard. I will be here. I also broke a nail, so don't judge me, but I am here.
So, do you like it or not? Coming up at 7:30 tonight.
7:30, Fox Local.
I absolutely love this show. It gives folks an opportunity to hop into the Zoom room, and then you can have a conversation about any and everything.
Absolutely. So Chris just does such a great job, and we're going to talk about a lot of fun things. We're also going to be doing prime time. I'm filling in for him at 9 o'clock. You can watch that on Fox Local, and I'm excited to co-host with Tony P as well.
All right. Speaking of being excited, I'm excited to have this young lady join us as well. I'm referring to Asia Chandler. Of course,
Hi,
you get a chance to check her out on Magic 102.3. Hello, Asia. Uh-oh. This happened last time. We got to make sure we get that button right there so we can hear you. How about we try it now? Can you say hello?
Asia.
Asia, we can't hear you. Are you muted?
Okay, how about now?
All right, there we go.
Yes, beautiful voice.
There we go.
Asia, you are giving back in a major way, and you have done that day in and day out. So tonight, well, let's just say you're focusing on furloughed workers. Do tell.
Yes, so today I've teamed up with Smoke That Barbecue, and we are feeding 150 furloughed families. We are helping adults and children. We want you just to come out. You just present a government ID, and Smoke That Barbecue is providing all the fixings. We have desserts, drinks, and so much more. We just want you to have that one thing off your plate. So come by today. We're going to be over at Forestville Plaza from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. And again, we're feeding the babies too, so bring the kids along. It's going to be a good time, so we're looking forward to it because we always have to help everyone in a time like this. And it's so funny because I just talk to people randomly on the street and they tell me about the difficulties they're having. And so that was one of the reasons that I said I need to do something, and this came to mind. So I'm happy to do it today. I'm excited. I got my sweatsuit on. I'm ready. Kind of brisk outside.
You know what's funny, Saida? When you think about barbecue, it could be, like, say, negative 30 degrees. People are still going to show out in a major way.
Yes, they are, especially for something like this. Asia, putting this together, especially right now, I think it's amazing because they need this, the furloughed workers. So I'm glad, something to put a smile on their face. But again, guys, make sure you put the lotion on because it's going to give you extra cold. It's ashy season,
Lotion is essential. Very true.
Yes.
So I want to make sure folks have the correct address. If they want to show up and show out and support you and or give back in a major way, how can they go about to do so?
Yes. Well, you can always follow me on everything and Always Ask Asia on Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok. And today we're going to be at Forestville Plaza. It's an outdoor event, so we're just servicing people right outside because, there's a new strain of COVID. We want to make everybody safe, so we're outdoors. And we're right at the Forestville Plaza, so you can't miss us. We'll be right there in the parking lot. And again, you'll hear the music and you'll see the food truck, and we're just going to have a good time. So come by and see me today, 5 p.m. to 7
Absolutely love it. Yet again,
Love it.
Asia joining us right here on the Live Zone. I'm going to see if I can stop by, Asia. We'll see if we can make that happen.
Yes, come by. I would love that.
Asia, you have great taste. I have that painting as well, the one that's behind you. So, yes, love it.
Thank you.
It's all about the background. Asia, we'll chat soon.
Wayfair.
That's so funny you picked that up. So many times when we're doing interviews here, that's one of the things I notice happens to be the background. And so to your point, she absolutely had a beautiful one. Hey, real quick, we got time for our Friday Talkers, Saida, and I wanted you to join us on this, and along with producer Joey, for us to discuss all things surrounding, well, what folks are talking about at home. By the way, our website, fox5dc.com. Really interesting. A new study ranks D.C. as the worst place in the U.S. to start a family. The factors include, let's say, income, cost of living, life expectancy, children's health insurance coverage, high school graduation rates, and reading and math proficiency. I can go on, but one thing I'm not going to go on is downing my city. What say you about this?
I think people just come up with these random lists like every week now. Like last month it was worst place to drive, worst traffic, and I think there's a lot of DC haters out there, Guy. You have to put them in their place. Come on now.
Yeah, well, not only put them in their place as Joey's head comes in the dark screen. Joey, get out of our shot.
Shout out to Joey.
Well, how about we just put him on screen? Joey, we got time for
Joey,
one
say
more.
Hi.
I skillfully covered myself with B-roll.
Oh, gosh.
Yes, he did. Yes.
The things that happen on live TV, I cannot make this stuff up. All right, Joey, we got 4 minutes left. You got the last story.
All right, it's great to see you guys because, as you can see, I'm a big Friday guy. So,
yes.
all right, here's what's up. But I'll tell you what is causing some controversy controversy is this new singer. I just want to show you guys what this looks like.
If he stayed, then the hurt was worth holding.
Does this look real to you?
No.
No, it doesn't.
All right, this is an AI-generated singer who ranked on the Billboard charts. This is the first time, of course, that an AI-generated singer has hit the charts. It's Zania Monet, and her creator is a poet who says, anytime something new comes about and it challenges the norm, it challenges what you're used to, you're going to get strong reactions behind it. So you guys think the reaction surrounding this is being hysterical over a new technology, or is there actually something here?
So, ladies first, what do you think?
Whose voice is it, though? Is that an AI singing, or is that a real singer?
It's app-generated, the voice, but the lyrics are real.
It's so real. It doesn't look real, but it sounds real, Guy.
Yeah.
I feel weird about it.
You know, it's obviously on the charts, and so it's doing well, at least for the time being. When you really break down the lyrics to a song, I think that's what it really all boils down to. The voice, I mean, it could, you know, we've had some singers that really can't sing, and so it's not for everybody, but hey, I get it. And apparently it's doing well on the charts. So.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the video could have been a little bit more realistic, but you feel for those singers, though, that are actual human beings that are trying. I look at it both ways, because there's people that are dying to become singers, and then comes in AI, but that's where it's all headed now. There's going to be AI husbands next, so that's what's going to happen.
Well, I don't know about the AI husband part, but I will tell you
AI wives, whatever.
What she said. I like it. I think it's something that we're going to continue to see. And yet again, if it's successful on the charts and it's generating revenue for, let's say, a record label, they will continue to do it. So.
Yeah, let's keep our minds open. AI can be really good too. So.
Good stuff. Well, there you have it. I guess you'll be listening to an AI song coming soon to a radio near you. Got about a minute left, Saeed, and so yet again, I want to encourage folks to make sure they watch you tonight. It's you're filling in for producer Chris. Do You Like It or Not? 7:30. I was on this past Monday.
You were? I was like, oh my God, how's he awake?
No, not since then. But one of the things that he had got a chance to touch on, I believe, if I could recall, happened to be certain sneakers and what sneakers are no longer cool right here in the DMV. That's what I like about it. You're going to get everything from politics to entertainment to some of the fun stuff.
Yeah, we're going to talk about, you know how people do that. So we're going to talk about how folks are trying to fix their vocabulary and take the uhs and the ums and the you know what outside of their vocabulary. And we're going to do a lot of fun stuff tonight. And couples that never argue, do you like that or not? That's kind of weird, but we have so much to look forward to.
I'm still stuck on the yeah, that's funny. Yet again, check out Saida beginning at 7:30 on Do You Like It or Not? And then thereafter at 9 p.m. For Live Zone Prime Time.
Yes, with Tony P, and we're going to have the top stories. That's going to be more serious, politics, you know, with the shutdown. So we got you on Fox Local. Make sure you download it.
All right, and with that, we'll say goodbye. Truly appreciate you joining us. We do this each and every Monday through Friday, 12 to 2. Tell a friend, bring a friend, and we'll do it again. Hey, don't turn. Why? Because The Take coming up next right here on Fox 5. Make it a great weekend.